Well, it's 1 o'clock, our regular scheduled meeting for July the 28th. Welcome council, welcome staff, and welcome to our guest, Paul Hurley, who's with us today. So call the meeting to order, and I will ask now for a moment of silent reflection so that we may reflect on our duties of today. Thank you. I'll ask council for any declaration of any pecuniary interest at this time or when it arises. Seeing none at this time, thank you. I would ask for the approval of the addendum agenda, which is an addition of the staff report for R10. A motion for that, please. Councillor War, Deputy Mayor Burt, all in favor? Unanimous show of hands. Thank you very much. I'm looking for a motion to approve the meeting minutes for the regular meeting of June the 9th and also the special meeting of July the 13th minutes to be adopted as presented or amended. Councillor Walsh, Councillor Archer, all in favor? Unanimous, carried. Thank you. Is there any business arising from the minutes? Councillor Walsh.
Again, it's just through you, Mayor, just following up on the June 9th meeting, we talked about having a virtual meeting request with the Minister of Health, Long-Term Care, and possibly the Minister of Education and Job Creation at AMO. Have we heard back?
Yes, I was going to mention it in my CAO list, but this will save me that. But yes, I've received confirmation yesterday that we were successful in receiving a delegation with Minister Fedeli from Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade Ministry. Okay. It is for the 17th, I believe. Yes, August 17th at 9 a.m. via Zoom. As the AMO conference is being conducted all virtually this year. So we do have a Zoom meeting with that minister. But we will discuss it maybe during the CAO list to get, I do need one council rep to attend. So just with Zoom, they're keeping the numbers limited. So.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So on to the, we have a motion on that, I take it, did we not? I'm sorry.
No, we don't need a motion for business arising, no, Mayor, no.
Right, thank you. The consent agenda then, looking for C1 through C9 be approved as circulated and or as amended. Deputy Mayor Burt.
I'd like to pull C4 and C5, and but the rest can go through if council approves.
That's your motion then. Looking for a seconder on that. As amended, Councillor War then, please. All in favor? That would be carried unanimous. Thank you. So on to staff reports then. Oh, sorry, there's no delegations or presentations at this time. Thank you. On to the staff reports and community reports would be R1. Candace, this would be regarding our infrastructure assessment report, please.
Yes, so welcome Paul Hurley from Engage Engineering, who has joined us this morning, who's going to give a brief overview of the report that was circulated to council in the agenda based on the infrastructure assessment, the current assessment of infrastructure for the village of Norwood. Since 2016, the township has been experiencing an influx of residential growth, which has sparked some commercial growth, and we are seeing some growth in our long-term care facilities as well within the village, and it's not really showing any signs of slowing. So we identified at the end of 2018 during budget talks that we need to take a look and do an appropriate comprehensive look at the infrastructure that the township has for capacity in order to make decisions moving forward. So that's what we've done. We've taken the last, I don't know, 6 or 7 months to meet and to take a look at water, wastewater, the collection systems, the distribution systems, the facilities themselves, right from the storage tower to pumping stations, etc. So Engage Engineering assisted township staff with that project and put together an excellent report, which is going to be the foundation for decision building moving forward. The next phases after today's report is received will be determining priority, we'll be determining procurement, and all of those will be determined based on meetings with developers and determining what's the next step for the township. So, you know, this is the foundation and phase 1 of some big decisions still to come. So Paul, I'm going to pass it over to you so you can walk council through maybe a brief overview of the report itself.
Sure. Thanks, Candace. First of all, can everyone hear me? Just thumbs up if I'm loud enough. Okay, good. Well, good afternoon, Mayor and members of council. Thanks for having me today. You know, I'm gonna present an overview of the process and the findings from this report. Before I do, I just wanted to thank Candace and her staff, specifically Ed, Jeff, and Kyle. They were really instrumental in helping us work through this report and helping us understand the existing infrastructure that's in the town, in the township, as well as the potential future development. And Kyle in particular spent a lot of time combing through as-built records and helping us figure out exactly what you have in the ground there. So the township staff were a huge help, and I think we worked really well collaboratively to develop this. So as far as an overview, I guess the first step in this process was really to figure out what the township has, what's the state of your existing infrastructure, what do you have in the ground, and how is it currently functioning? So we did that by collecting as-built information, as I said, by doing some field reconnaissance, by meetings with township staff. And what we did was we developed an overall plan and an understanding of your water and wastewater collection and distribution systems, as well as how the plants and the pumping stations are operating. And that gave us a baseline for how you're operating today, so where you sit, and then the next phase of the study would build on that and identify the needs that would arise as a result of future development. So the second part of the process was to identify development areas within the township so that we could assess where the development was going to occur and how it was going to affect that infrastructure. So I'm going to share my screen here. This is it says I have screen sharing disabled. Is there any way I can share my screen, Candace? Oh, here we go. It's good. This is figure 3 in your report, and what this is a map of the village, and it identifies the all of the future development areas in the township. And what we did was we decided to break that down into phases. And the reason for the phasing was really, as Candace alluded to, is to help the township in prioritizing the work. So phase 1 are the yellow blocks on the map, and those identify development areas that are either imminent, they've got planning applications in the process, or there's been some pre-consultation. So there's a fairly high certainty of some development occurring in there. Phase 2 are the blue areas, and those are future applications. They're either adjacent to an existing development or an area where there's been some interest shown by developers. And then the pink are the future or distant future developments. And those are, you can see they're kind of on the periphery of the township. They're large tracts of land that would be attractive to a developer, but maybe there's no current interest, or potentially there's some environmental constraint on those properties. So they're kind of a longer term development. And the reason we did this phasing is so that it'll help the township in prioritizing some of the infrastructure upgrades If something's not required until the distant future, then we don't want the township spending infrastructure money and staff time on improvements to that. We want to focus on the more immediate needs. So from this, from these development areas, what we did was looking at each one, we looked at the type of land use and the type of development that would occur there. And then we assigned a number of residential or commercial units to that. So, and the numbers are fairly significant. You can see them in table 1 in your report. Phase 1 has a total of 835 units. Phase 2 is almost 350, and phase 3 is 982. So the long-term prospects in the village are quite significant. And even the immediate, the phase 1 is it's a fairly significant development when you consider the current number of units that are in the township. So after we'd assembled this, and this was a collaborative process, so this wasn't, engaged staff just throwing a dart at the wall here in developing these areas. We had several meetings with township staff discussing what are the current planning applications, where do you see development occurring, where have you had interest. So it was a really collaborative process with township staff to come up with this. And so we have a fairly high, can't predict exact years and timing for this, but we feel like we've got a good handle on the timing with those 3 phases. And so after this, the next part of this phase was to use this mapping and use the phasing and start evaluating the impact on the existing infrastructure. So we took the analysis, the spreadsheets, and the capacity tools that we looked at on your existing infrastructure, and we applied these future phases to it to see what happens. When do you run out of capacity on a certain section of sewer? When does it trigger a need in your treatment plant or your wastewater treatment plant to help the township plan for some of those improvements? And so if you look in the report, I guess I'll start by saying that we broke it down into the sanitary. You'll see the report's broken down into sanitary and water, and then each of those is broken down into the distribution or collection system. So on the sanitary side, that's the sewers, the gravity sewers that are in the ground. On the water side, that's the water mains. And then we looked at the plants. So we looked at your wastewater plant, the pumping stations. Then we looked at the treated water storage and the water treatment plant on the water side. So I'll start with, in the report, start with the findings. Just bear with me here. On the wastewater treatment side, you can see in table 5 here, hopefully everyone can still see this, the existing capacity, the way you're currently operating, you've got lots of capacity under existing conditions. You've got, you're running at about 39%. You've got capacity for almost 300 units of future development with your wastewater treatment plant. But you can see as the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 come online, your plant is exceeded significantly. So what we're identifying or recommending there is that there would be incremental upgrades to this plant. So we're not saying you need a wholesale new wastewater treatment plant, but it would be incremental upgrades to permit this future development. It would be best if you did a more detailed study. So if you like, this is kind of a bird's eye view of all the servicing in the township. When you get into spending the kind of money you're going to spend to upgrade a wastewater treatment plant, one of the things you're going to want to do here is conduct an EA to look at the improvements in more detail and help you plan for some of this phasing. But the bottom line here is that you do have some residual capacity left in your wastewater treatment plant to permit some future development. On the pumping station side, this is an interesting one. We ran two sets of numbers here. And if you look at table 4, when we initially did our analysis, we found that the pumping station was operating at 118% of capacity. And that's theoretical. That's based on the calculations that we use, the MOE mandated numbers. So that didn't, we got some good feedback from Kyle. Kyle was saying that doesn't seem right. So we looked at, Kyle was able through through some connections with your by analyzing the flows from the flow meter there, we were able to derive actual flows at the pumping station, and that's the 84% number. So what we're seeing is that the calculated flows are overly conservative, and you still have some capacity left in your pumping station, but it's nearing capacity right now. And as future development occurs, you're going to need to make some plans for upgrading that Lions Park pumping station. Again, it would be incremental. I think there's going to be some upgrades required to the station itself. And then as future phases come online, you're going to be upgrading pumps to accommodate the sizing or the scale of those future phases. I would recommend, we've recommended that you do an EA, a major retrofit or upgrade to a pumping station is a fairly significant chunk of change here, and you're going to want to plan that out properly. So we've recommended that you do complete an EA on this pumping station before you move ahead with any upgrades. On the force main side, so you do have two components to your collection system. You've got gravity sewers, everything flows to that Lions Park pumping station and then is pumped to your treatment plant. The force main right now is operating within capacity, but you can see on this table, you're going to be into upgrades to that force main in the future as well. We would recommend that you twin that force main. You leave the 200 millimeter force main in the ground, and that you install a second force main as opposed to installing just one larger one. The second force main will give you some redundancy and will allow you to phase in some of this future development. And then on the gravity sewer side, there's about 14 sections of sewer within the township that will need upgrade to facilitate future development. They're summarized in the table here. And we've also indicated for each section the number of units that it can accommodate before you require an upgrade. So it will assist township staff if they get development applications in and they're looking at a particular section of sewer, they can quickly go to this table and say, oh, you know what, Pine Street from here to here, we're okay. We've got capacity for 142. This application has 102, so we're fine. So this should help in planning out when you need to implement those upgrades to the gravity sewer. On the water side, again, I'll just skip ahead here. The wastewater or the water treatment system, you've got under existing conditions, you're at about 50% capacity. So you've got enough capacity at your treated water to accommodate some additional development. And the number of units. Yeah, it's about 356 units of treated water that you can accommodate before you need to make some upgrades to your water treatment infrastructure. The treated water storage or your water tower is a different story. You can see in table 10 here, you're at about 96%. So effectively you're using all of your treated water storage right now. And so for any future development in the township, and I don't think this is a surprise, you're going to need to make some improvements to the treated water storage, and that's likely going to come in the form of an elevated tower, another tower, or some kind of elevated storage at a different location in the township. We've tried to identify some locations based on elevation and based on development that make a lot of sense in the township. But again, this is a fairly significant piece of municipal infrastructure. And we would recommend that you complete a municipal class environmental assessment to determine the most appropriate location and size for this new water tower. The water tower would assist the township in probably really the only deficiency that's in your water distribution system right now is some sections of lower pressure. So you have adequate flow within your distribution system, but there are some locations where you have some pressure that's right at the threshold of the minimum operating pressure that the MOE requires. And so the second tower or elevated storage tank would make an improvement to your operating pressures and would so it would satisfy two issues, one with the storage and the other with some of the system pressures. So that is a very quick overview of sort of the process that went into this and some of the findings. As Candace said, I think the next steps for this report are to use as the basis for some planning on infrastructure spending. Not all of this infrastructure is, it all needs to be done before development occurs, but it doesn't all need to be done at the township's cost. There's certainly potential for future funding applications here. This could be used as new development applications come in. We'd envision this report being used as a basis for discussion with developers, saying, hey, the township really understands the state of our infrastructure, and to accommodate this development, there's going to be some improvements, and you'll have a really good starting point for discussions with developers and potential cost sharing. And then there could be some work in here that the township undertakes on their own accord at their cost. But this report is really a planning tool, as Candace said, that will help the township, or hopefully help the township, plan out future spending and priorities for infrastructure. One of the things that we're going to do is provide all of the spreadsheets that went into developing this analysis to the township, so that this can become a living document, so that the township can use the sanitary capacity spreadsheets. You can have those on file. If you get a development in, you can plug the numbers into it. You can see what the results are, and you can keep that document live, so that you'll always have a really accurate record of the state of the capacity that you've got available in some of these sections. So we see this as a really good planning tool, but also a living document that the township can use to help better understand the state of their infrastructure going forward. So I guess that's my quick overview, and I'll take any questions if you've got some.
Paul, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that, Paul. That was quite the overview for sure. 7 months worth of work, and you gave it like in 15 minutes. That's not too bad. Council, that's a lot of information. Got some questions coming forward? Councillor Walsh?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a very thorough report. And again, congratulations on putting it and presenting it in a short period of time, but I'm sure a lot of hours have gone into it. So I love the breakdown between wastewater and water, and then you broke it down individually under that to help just to help us understand better. You talk of the municipal class environmental assessment process. What does it do differently than what you have already provided to us?
Through the mayor, it's a more detailed process, and it's actually even mandated. So anytime it's going to look at the infrastructure itself. So we've identified kind of the bird's eye view from your system about, and I'll use the treated water storage or the water tank as a water tower as an example. We've identified that you need that, and we've identified what we think the future size for that facility would need to be. But there are a lot of different options for providing that storage. You could have an elevated tank, you could have a water tower, you could have an underground chamber and a pressurized system with pumps. And there's a lot of different locations for that type of facility. So what the EA would do is look at all of those in more detail, look at the costs, look at the effects of those locations. What happens if we put it here? What's the effect on the neighboring property? So it would take what we've done, which is kind of the bird's eye view, and would really zoom down on it to give council a more detailed recommendation. One of those towers is it's millions of dollars, and before you spend that kind of money, you want to make sure you've picked the right location that's going to provide that long-term functionality. So,
okay. Thank you very much.
Deputy Mayor Burt, you had your hand.
Yes, thank you, and through you, Mayor. Thank you very much for the report. And yeah, I agree with Barry. You guys have been working on this for several months, and we received this last week. So it was a lot of reading for council, and we don't live and breathe and water and wastewater. So I think we learned a lot. Speaking from myself, we certainly learned a lot and certainly realized how much we don't know. So, but the report was put in a way that we could understand it and work our way through it. So basically, obviously we have our things that we need to look at, and we'll have our priorities, and staff will bring those forward. And I'm just kind of going a little bit further on what Councillor Walsh had said about the environmental assessments. Overall, and I know each one is different, time-wise, timeframes to complete these environmental assessments, what's the average on that? And as well as a cost, looking, say, for the water tower. Do we have any numbers, either Candace or Paul, that we could throw out there, just as an example?
Anybody? Up to you.
Anybody?
So I'll through you, I'll give this a shot. I would, depending on the complexity of these EAs, you could be anywhere between 6 months and 18 months. I would guess on average, you're probably going to spend about a year. The pumping station is probably the most straightforward, and it would be on the lower end of that scale. The water tower or improvements to your water or wastewater plants would probably be a longer term, 12-month minimum, I would say, and could be up to 18 months as far as the duration of those studies. A lot of that is really just a function of those studies have mandated public consultation points, and you really can't shortcut those. So they do take some time. As far as the costs, one of the next things we have the next deliverable for us is to provide Candace with a cost estimate for the majority of these works. And so I don't want to speak out of turn. It's almost complete, okay, and I'll get that into Candace's hands shortly. So I don't want to throw out a number here that's going to be different.
That's fine.
But it's coming, and we'll have some. It'll include both the capital costs of the infrastructure as well as some of those high-level engineering studies.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Don't worry, when the cost analysis comes in, we'll have defibrillators on site.
Yeah.
Candace, did you want to add something to that at all?
Not really. I think Paul definitely encompassed it all. The EA process, a year, I would suspect. I would aim or hope we could accomplish it in less than 18 months. But a year is what we would aim for, but anything is possible when you get into these. And another thing for council to understand is when we start looking at locations of water towers, it's not quite as as simple as just plopping up a water tower based on elevations. As the township, we need to look at property we already own versus property that we may have to acquire if it's found that a specific location of the township is ideal. We may not own property or have enough property in that area, as well as there's a water treatment capability. So we'll have to look at the potential of twinning the tower that's already there, because I know council has talked about that in the past. So all of those options that have been discussed will be on the table and will be looked at in either discredited or confirmed that is the step in which the direction in which we need to take. So each system, obviously you can see on the water side and the wastewater side, each very quickly sees a priority on each one of those systems that comes to the forefront. But that priority list will be coming forward to council. And obviously, as you've heard, the A process is not quick. So we will be delivering those quite quickly, because time is going to very quickly become of the essence, especially in regards to keep with the momentum of the growth that we're experiencing. We want to be able to stay in front of it. So the EA process for some of what you've seen today and figuring out the costing and the analysis of that is going to become a top priority for staff in probably the last quarter of 2020.
Thanks, Candace. Councillor Ward, please.
Just more of a comment. It was a very detailed report, and I think it's interesting for someone like us that we see it from underground instead of above ground, the way we always view things. So I was really interested to see where the stations were, and I think it's a really good tool going forward and how we're going to plan expenditures for the township. Thank you.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Just a comment from myself. Thanks, Paul. I do thank you for all the work that you're doing for us, for sure. With, like you said, it's a living document that we're going to have and be using in the near future. So when we make a motion on this, Candace, just a question. If we receive and approve this, that just means that we're doing this, but the document can change at any time as we go into the future, I take it, right?
Yes, you're not approving any money today, Mayor, don't worry.
I have my defibrillator here. I'm not sure whether. No.
Yes, so you're just approving the document and conceptually, basically as the foundation for decision-making and in prioritizing. The next steps will be the big decisions that are coming forward. So no, just approving that the document, that the staff are going to be using this document as a tool moving forward. That's all.
Right, thanks. Yeah, it's really no surprise. I mean, I think the earliest infrastructure in town was in the 50s, I believe. And then
48.
48, is that right? Yeah, so it's no surprise that some of the pipes definitely need to be changed if they're not already leaking into the ground and having problems now. So. All right, council. So any other questions? Did we spur anything else on here? Okay, seeing no hands at this time, then we'll ask for a motion then to receive and approve this fine document from Mr. Hurley's engagement and get your firm, sir. So that'd be Councillor Walsh and Deputy Mayor Burt. All in favor? Unanimous, that's carried. Thank you. And thank you very much, sir.
Okay,
Thank you,
thanks
Paul.
everyone.
We'll
Have
chat
a great
soon.
day.
Bye-bye.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Take care. So then we'll be on to R2, Candace again, please. So this is regarding our master recreation plan. And with us, I see that we have a Mary Catherine that's with us to help us explain the recreation plan going forward. So Candace, please take it away.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So next up is very exciting. Again, another document that has been months and months and months in the making is our master recreation plan. And what this is going to do is it's going to kind of, again, provide a foundation and a steering document for the township to consider how we're going to allocate funds for programming, facility retrofits, and prioritize recreation in the township for the coming years. We had immense community involvement throughout this process. We heard from the residents. We know it is that what it is that they would like to see. So we had to couple that with what it is from a feasibility perspective in which the township can actually achieve. And Mary Catherine was the guide basically that spearheaded us through this process, and she is with us today because she is going to share a presentation and present the draft master rec plan for council. So welcome, Mary Catherine.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Sorry.
I have the ability, I have granted you access, so you are able to share your screen to present your presentation. So you'll be able to be in control of your own slides.
Okay, I'm not sure how to do that. I've never done one of these before.
Okay, that's fine. I have it up. I can share my screen and do it. That's fine, whenever you're ready.
That would be great. Okay. Yes.
Mary, just before you start though, Mary, we have a public meeting at 2 p.m. and I know yours is quite in depth also. So, but if you do stretch into 2 p.m. and I'm not rushing you by no means, because this is quite important for the township. All it means is we're going to be putting you on a pause probably for a few minutes there and until we get over with our public meeting at 2, okay? So I may have to interrupt. All right?
Okay. I don't anticipate the presentation to be that long, but of course, if there are questions or discussion after, that might run past 2 o'clock. But
okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for having me today to present the plan. It has been a while in getting to this point, largely because of COVID. But I'm happy to be here today to present a short slide presentation to go over what the plan is all about. And then if there's anything in the plan that I don't cover in the presentation, please feel free to ask me afterwards if you have anything that specific you want to know about, because I'm just going to try and do a really high level review here. So Candace, could you please put up the first slide?
Yes, I am. I have a lot of screens open here, so it's just going to take me a minute.
Okay.
Just give me a second. Because it is being a little bit fussy. Can you see it?
Well, I can, yes. Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. All right. So the first slide here just talks about the purpose of the master plan, and it really is a high level direction for all municipal programs, facilities, and how they're delivered to the community until we're looking at 2029. And it considers the community context, trends, overall trends in recreation, as well as the consultation findings in the community itself. Now, sometimes plans also include parks, but the township didn't require a parks review and assessment at this time. Nevertheless, we did provide any feedback from the community on parks. That's included in the documentation as well, so that you have a record of what people are interested in with respect to parks and park amenities. Next slide, please. So it's a 10-year time frame, really important for budgeting purposes. It provides a tool to anticipate the needs of the community and to budget to meet them and to update annually as things are implemented. It's flexible in that recommendations can be adjusted as circumstances change or as priorities are reordered, or opportunities arise to fast track something such as a funding program or an opportunity to partner with somebody, another agency. So it's really just a general guide with flexibility built in. Some recommendations will require more work in the area of additional consultation, but those you will do that as you visit those through over the years. Next slide, please. This is essentially just overview of how the master plan document itself is organized. So it's an introduction, and sections 2 and 3 are the sort of the history up to date and what's happening in the community currently in terms of what people are looking for. And then that material is used to assess each area of service. So programs, activities, and events, facilities, and how to deliver the services to the community, and then an implementation program that looks at the order of these in sequence and when they should be done over the course of the 10 years. Next slide, please. So our planning process included, as we just mentioned, background and community context. So the background is socio-demographic and demographic characteristics, in the inventory of existing facilities, programs, and events, service delivery, how this township currently delivers services in terms of its role, staff, volunteers, partners it works with, its current plans that relate to recreation, and other policies and practices that are the current approach to delivering services. And then we always look at broader trends in recreation service provision and try to integrate those into our assessments. Next slide, please. So the community consultation was undertaken in August of last year, and we did an online resident household survey. Anybody in the community could participate. We had 399 respondents, including 60 non-residents. We didn't limit it only to residents because we were looking for, there are people outside municipality that also use facilities and services in the township. It wasn't specifically directed to non-residents, but it's good to know that, you know, those needs of outside users should be considered, because you do serve not just residents, particularly with the community center. We send an invitation to 20 sports and recreation groups in the community to provide detailed information on what they're doing and what they'd like to do in the future. We got 8 back. That's not unusual. We typically don't have a great response to these types of surveys. I think people, even though consultation is important and required in many community efforts, people, I think, maybe have consultation fatigue in some ways, and they don't necessarily always participate, or they're happy with the way things are, or they feel they'll speak up when the time comes and they need to. Service organizations, these would be the Lions, the Legion, other organizations that have some relation to community recreation and leisure, but don't necessarily provide programs. And again, we had a fairly limited response to that invitation, but I think primarily these were emailed invitations to representatives. So I think primarily the idea is to get them out, get those invitations out there, ask people to participate, tell them that we want them to participate, and then it's up to them to choose whether or not they feel they need to or want to. We had 2 community meetings, one with youth, which Candace facilitated on my behalf, because there was a couple of meetings that were also, other meetings that were also supposed to occur that day, but we didn't have enough response, enough interest to actually hold those meetings. So the meeting schedule was reduced to 1, and Candace offered to facilitate that rather than me travel to the township for 1 meeting. And then we had a public open house. That was one that I did attend and facilitate, to hear from anybody in the community who wanted to speak with us. And we also had a separate meeting with municipal representatives to get their input from their perspective on, what the community is interested in seeing provided and how they see that provision happening in terms of opportunities and constraints. Next slide, please. So the planning process, again, after all of this, we go into our assessment and recommendations in each of the areas of service, and then we amalgamate our consolidate all of those in an implementation plan, which is the very last section of the master plan. Next slide, please. So the first area of service is programs, activities, and events. And I think there are, as you can see, there are lots of opportunity for the municipality to broaden its service provision in this area. And a lot of this, as we'll talk about later, is going to depend on the hiring a a facilitator to ensure that this happens. But the community exhibited interest in fitness and interactive and non-sport programs, and that the emphasis seemed to look towards providing a initial focus anyway on adults, older children, and young teens, and family and intergenerational programming whereby everybody can participate together. We're finding in a lot of municipalities that adults are, because they want to become more fit, more active, that there's a greater demand for municipalities to get involved in adult programming. And adults also include older adults as well as young adults. In some cases, some is senior specific, some programming is senior specific, but these are kind of the trends that we're seeing in other communities. And there was definitely interest in having a pool provided, which we'll talk about in a little while. And it's not really going to be feasible for the municipality to provide that. But other options to possibly meeting that demand would be to look to entering agreements with residents to offer swim instruction in their own private backyard pools. And that has been the route that some small municipalities have taken to allow local people to bring their children to swim programs in the summer close to home. And a couple of people mentioned that there used to be swimming at Mill Pond, and that they'd like the municipality to investigate the possibility of cleaning up the pond and reintroducing that for some limited programming for children. Next slide, please. And then in terms of events, I think there was really good potential to investigate opportunities to work with local businesses for events and attractions based on the township's agricultural industry. And when I looked online, one of the first things that came up was that the township is very well embedded in hockey in its history. And I didn't know that, but I think that's a great heritage to build on. And a lot of people like hockey. So I think that's one area that the municipality might look to in terms of developing some visitor related experiences and events. And also, particularly with respect to adult programming, a lot of programs now are more focused on short duration, like 3-hour one-off type programs at night on weekends. And it gives people an opportunity to participate with little commitment or, just one day, but it also might introduce them to something they might want to pursue further in longer program sessions. And it seems that particularly with respect to COVID, now one of the emerging views is that, although we don't know how things are going to develop, that if people are going to continue working at home post-COVID, as things seem to be working out for a lot of people that way, there may be opportunities for municipalities to program in what traditionally have been considered non-prime time hours, and to get adults out to programming maybe during the day, during the week, as opposed to having everybody wanting programs on weeknights and weekends. But that remains to be seen, but it's just one thing that some communities are thinking about in terms of getting programming back on stream. Next slide, please. So the next section we looked at was facilities. And first of all, I'll go over the facilities that were determined to be not needed during the plan's term. An outdoor pool, beach volleyball courts, an additional multi-purpose space, municipal gym. At this point, the pool, given the population base and the anticipated use, would be, I think, too great an investment for the municipality. Not even so much in terms of capital, but ongoing operating costs. They're always the thing that, once you build a facility, it's yours to run forever. And the cost can be quite significant. And an outdoor pool, most municipalities, unless they have outdoor pools now, are not really looking to provide outdoor pools these in current times, because the operating season is relatively short in terms of the benefit to the community and the cost to provide that. The beach volleyball courts, there wasn't much interest in providing beach volleyball courts as a fixed facility. I know their special events are held there, and the volleyball courts are essentially constructed for those events, but there was limited demand for having a permanent facility. And additional multipurpose and space and gymnasium, there's not that this won't ever be needed, but there is, I think, sufficient space, underutilized space in the community right now, that once programming gets going and gets built up, those spaces will be utilized first, and then maybe down the road there might be additional need to look at some multi-purpose space, but I don't think that's going to be a requirement during the term of this plan. And as far as playing fields go, I think sufficient in terms of number, but there might be some need to reschedule, shift over the diamonds and fields that are available, and look to partner with the school board in particular to maybe make some improvements in exchange for joint use of these facilities for the community. Next slide, please. So the indoor facilities that are to be considered, and that, well, the weight room cardio fitness area at the community center is something that was very strongly supported, and that the township has already made some inroads in terms of looking at potential schematic designs. The particular design that was prepared by the engineering firm is included in the appendix, so that people can see what is being envisioned. And as part of that, we would recommend that the opportunity to provide additional arena dressing room and storage space would be something that could complement doing this work at this point in time, because there was a need expressed by the groups for additional dressing rooms, and storage is always a problem in every municipality in terms of groups having permanent storage to leave their equipment and in between programs, in between seasons. So that's something that might be looked at in addition as a part of this design process. And also the potential to maybe eventually add some multipurpose space to the community center when designing the fitness space. So to add on at some point in the future. And again, we talked earlier about focusing on program development that will make use of optimal use of space at this point in time, or considering additional space. And also there was a little bit of apparent unmet demand from arena users that, given the schedule, didn't seem to be something that couldn't be accommodated. So I think there'll have to be some discussion between the township and arena users to see what the specific issues are, if it's the time of scheduling or the days, or what the problem is, because there seems to be time available. So I think that has to be worked out with the user groups themselves. Next slide, please. Outdoor facilities. There was also a shelf-ready skate park plan for a prefabricated facility, and we looked at the option of possibly doing a concrete pad. And our assessment arrived at roughly comparable costs for one or the other. So I think it's something that the municipality should take a look at and determine whether or not they would like to replace the existing with a new prefabricated assembly, or develop a more integrated concrete pad for the community. And again, speaking about consulting with organized ball users and and also soccer field users with them and the school board to identify better opportunities to allocate use across the 3 diamonds, 2 municipal and 1 school, and also improvements that might be required to better facilitate community use and joint use between the school and the community. And particularly with respect to the community center, because that's a real focus for community recreation. So the fields in that location are good ones to focus on for improvements. And then also to continue monitoring on a regular basis all playing fields to confirm future demand before considering providing any additional facilities. Next slide, please. So in terms of delivery, hiring the full-time recreation program facilitator is pretty much key to kickstarting and developing these programs outside of the volunteer groups. So to start to work with existing and potential partners to expand year-round programming using available space, and particularly to investigate, well, there seems to be great opportunity to partner with some agencies in the area, including the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club, Trent University, and the Special Olympics Ontario is always looking to participate in collaboration with municipalities to get new programming going. And particularly the Trent University Excalibur Summer Camp program seems to be a great option to try as a pilot, because it's essentially an off-the-shelf program that they just bring to your community. They manage everything, and you just provide them the space for the summer. So I think that might be a good starting point for the community. But there are other options, and a facilitator would be the one to look to these different potential programmers to assess the best ways to go for different types of programming. Some of them want a permanent presence. I think the Boys and Girls Club said they want a permanent presence in the community. So that's a different type of arrangement that you would have to consider. But certainly as a start, for a one-off program, the Excalibur Camp sounds like a good option. Next slide, please. Yeah, in terms of committee mandates, we always recommend that they be reviewed to see what new or different responsibilities could be added to the committees to help support programming function. I mean, maybe they could help with monitoring unmet demand or outreach for volunteers, or some areas where they could support the staff in program development. And certainly there was interest in the community in a local soccer program, and that may actually, now that there are new mini fields in the new park, that may be kind of the impetus or the incentive for a program to develop. But certainly volunteers are needed to make those programs go. So that's really a prerequisite to whether or not some of these programs will run, is whether or not there are people in the community who are willing and able to take them on with the assistance of the municipality. But certainly there has to be volunteers who are keen to get involved. And also any, I know there was a fair bit of policy in the document, but we always look at opportunities to update policies and practices to ensure that the recommendations are supported by these, and also give direction to staff on a daily basis on how township and council want things to be implemented, so they don't have to keep coming back to council for new direction every time something comes up. And also there's one opportunity, I think, with the university again, to engage students in helping to develop a process for program planning and evaluation, so that the municipality is only investing resources in programs that are in demand and are successful, and not continuing things that are either too difficult to keep running or are not necessarily meeting the broadest range of demands that the community has expressed. Next slide, please.
Mary Catherine, I'm going to stop you there.
Okay.
Just for a minute. It's going to be 2 o'clock here shortly. So instead of, we can collect our thoughts here for this next planning moment.
Okay. Sorry, I was longer than I thought.
No, you're doing really good. It's a big document, and
I
there's a
was
lot
trying to talk quickly.
No, we'd rather you not. Personally, we're not the county here. We're just we're just a small municipality that really likes to pay attention to what we're doing. So, anyways, it's 2 p.m. I want to I get a motion to suspend our regular council to go into a public meeting today. So I'm looking for a motion on that, please. Councillor War and Councillor Archer. All in favor? Unanimous hands, thank you, that's carried. So today's meeting has to do with a planning matter that rezoning bylaw, comprehensive zoning bylaw 2009-8 under the section 34 in brackets 12 of the Planning Act RSO 1990 as amended. So I'm looking for an approval of the agenda, I guess is how we'd go forward here. Deputy Mayor Burt and Councillor Walsh, all in favor? That's carried. And I'm going to ask council of any pecuniary interest at this time, considering the planning matter. Seeing no hands, that's good, thank you. And then, so the report would be R1. And I see that we have our Chief Building Official and Planning Coordinator, Ed Whitmore, with us now. Welcome, Ed. Thanks for being here. And so R1, I'll ask for it to be brought forward, please.
Okay. Thank you. So this zoning bylaw amendment application 03-2020 is the result of a consent file B-9-20, where the proponent did a lot addition onto their property. And now this lot addition needs to be rezoned to the institutional exception 1 zone in order to permit a 22-bed addition built onto the retirement home. So this is a really nice opportunity for the township. We've circulated the notice to every property owner within 120 meters. The agencies have all been notified. And you'll see as part of the report package, some of the agencies have replied. We don't have any negative comments, and we've received no negative comments from any of the ratepayers being circulated with the application. The notice of the public meeting and complete application was also posted on the website. It was also posted on the property itself. On the township website is where it was posted. And this is for a 22-bed expansion. It's 1,227 square meters. That's about 13,207 square feet. It's a very positive. Had no negative feedback from anybody or any agency whatsoever. So we have to read the 2 clauses in there about appeals. So I can do that now if you wish.
Yes, please.
If a person or public body does not make oral submission at the public meeting or make written submission to the Township of Asphodel-Norwood before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not permitted to appeal the decision of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood at the local planning appeal tribunal. And also, if a person or public body does not make oral submissions at the public meeting or make written submission to the Township of Asphodel-Norwood before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the local planning appeal tribunal, unless in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. So we needed to say that. As part of this R1 report, you've seen the application for the zoning bylaw amendment. You've seen the floor plan and site plan to go along with this, a copy of the survey, a copy of the notice of public meeting and complete application, and then some correspondence from a couple of the agencies. Enbridge Gas, no concerns. Orca had sent in comments from April 29th, 2020, and these comments are in regards to the consent application file that was back 2000 B-9-20. And so I didn't have anything other than those Orca comments. They're always important for us to add into it. So if there's any questions regarding any of this information, I'd be happy to answer them.
Council, anything at this time? Seeing no hands. Ed, carry on.
Okay, so the proponent is very eager to get started. And so in the future, we'll be bringing forward a merger agreement and also a site plan control agreement or an development agreement of some kind, one or the other, to get the building permit going. And so, and that's it. So all we need is the recommendation from the public meeting. And I think that's it.
Okay, so you're looking for a recommendation for the motion to approve the zoning bylaw amendment from R1 to an institutional exception 1 zone then, is what we'll
Yes.
be asking as a motion then.
Yes, please.
Okay, council, you've heard that. Any other thoughts or comments before we vote? So I need somebody to move the motion then. Councilor Archer, thank you. And the seconder? Deputy Mayor Burt? All in favor? That's carried unanimous with hands then. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so this basically concludes the public meeting. So I'll ask for a motion to adjourn the public meeting then, please.
And the motion will
And
also
then-
reconvene us to our regular meeting of council as well, please.
Yeah, thank you. It's part of that motion. Councillor Walsh? And Councillor Archer, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So now we're back into the meeting again. So Mary Catherine, we'll probably pull your stuff up on the screen again here in a second or two, and then you can carry on with us, please.
Thank you.
Can everyone see it?
Nope.
It's something else.
COVID-19 updates.
Sure. Sure outline,
Okay,
Candace.
of course.
Oh, there's a nice picture of the mayor. Nice, thanks.
There we are.
Okay.
Right spot.
There you go,
Okay,
Mary.
so, all right, now we're at the implementation part of the master plan, which is how are all of the service areas recommendations going to be implemented? Well, there's a total of 59 recommendations, many of which are really built interdependent. So if you look at them in terms of groupings, there are things that will have to be done simultaneously. So it isn't as onerous a task, I don't think, as the 59 suggests. It's just the way that the plan is structured. But certainly the program facilitator will be needed to initiate many of the tasks and to, you know, get things going and building and developing in the way of programming and facilitating others to come to the municipality or local volunteers, businesses to use municipal facilities or other facilities to develop programs and special events. So a lot of that work will fall on that person. And I think once certain things are initiated and processes get into place, it shouldn't be as difficult as things should start to take on a life of their own if things are organized smoothly and processes and procedures are put into place to do these things. So each year would be detailed in terms of specific tasks with budgets, and in order to evaluate, to be able, we would have to set measurable objectives as part of the process to determine whether or not you achieve those objectives, and if you want to maybe change the direction or not go there anymore or add something else to it. So it's just a matter of keeping on top of things to see where you go year by year. Next slide, please. So in summary, oh, okay, I forgot. We didn't see these. The estimated capital costs for the 2 facility projects which were recommended, which is the weight cardio space and the skate park. Now the task force engineering provided their own estimate of what it would cost to provide the facility. So I've used that. And the skate park, we estimated between $200,000 and $300,000, again, depending on the details of the design. And so there's some flexibility there, but I think that was also within the range that, whether it be concrete or the other type of facility, I've forgotten what it's called. Anyway, whether it be concrete or not, that the price range is roughly the same. And the program facilitator, I estimated 55 to 60,000 when I did the plan, but it has to be verified on the township salary grid. So I don't know if that would be the final salary or not. So in summary, the plan provides direction on facilities and programs over the next 10 years. It's a tool for planning and budgeting purposes. Again, it needs to be kind of viewed as a living document, which would be updated and adjusted annually. And then in 10 years, you would do a major review and a new plan for the following 10 years. And recommendations can be advanced or delayed or amended to address changing circumstances and opportunities. And some initiatives may require additional community consultation in terms of their implementation, things like design work, and which directions to take if there are different options to go. And councils over the years in consultation with township staff will activate the plan as they see fit. And that's the end of my presentation. So now I'm up for questions and discussion.
Thank you, Mary Catherine. Okay, council, now's your time. Okay, Councillor Ward, please.
I have a comment through you, Mayor. I realize that, a lot of time and community input and cost was involved with this study. And now that it's completed, I'm wondering if it will also be put up on, I guess this is more for Candace, will be put up on the website, the news section, and how this is going to be given to the public, because I think sometimes not every one of our residents is going to see it via our agenda.
No, it'll definitely go up onto the website, and a post will go out on social media advising the residents that it's there. It'll come out on the community press to state that it has been completed and that the final copy is available on the website. And so our usual communication channels will be implemented.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Deputy Mayor Burt?
Yes, through you, Roger. Thank you very much, Mary Catherine, for the detailed report. I was looking forward to this for a long time and seeing the results of this study. And I think it's important to see, a lot of times people think recreation is just for kids. And I think showing the importance of our all ages and intergenerational is very important as we move forward. Those agency partnerships, some, you know, through libraries and that sort of thing, they do some of those already, but I think expanding those, and I'm pretty excited to see what Trent or the Y or the Boys and Girls Club, what perhaps some of those partnerships can bring to our township and the village of Norwood. Certainly 59 recommendations is big, but it will be nice to, as we move forward, to break those down into chunks and maybe pick that low-hanging fruit that we can get going right away. So I think my only somewhat concern was just initially hiring a full-time person for that position. I personally might feel a little more comfortable with starting with a part-time position and then looking to expand that as we move forward, but that will be a discussion as we do move forward. And also, I know it wasn't part of your mandate to look at parks and trails, but I do think as we move forward as staff and council and perhaps our new hire, certainly bringing the trails into the fold of recreation, because I think that's a big kind of gem just sitting there waiting to be expanded and used a little bit more. But that's about all. I made many pages of comments, but it would take too long. So that's the end of my comment. And so thank you very much for the report, and looking forward to moving ahead with some of these recommendations.
Thank you.
Anyone else at this time? Councillor Walsh?
Yeah, just basically, again, Roger, through you, echoing a lot of what Deputy Mayor Burt indicated. Again, thank you very much, Mary Catherine. Very thorough report, in-depth reading, spent a lot of the weekend reading it. Do like the idea of the satellite programming opportunity, something that we have not looked at, that I think is something that makes a lot of sense for us. Even just small suggestions like the website suggestions you provided to us regarding the live and play and explore and discover, just where we kind of put things on our website. Those are just small little things that you've observed that may just help us communicate more what we already have, that some people in our community don't even know that we do have already. So that was awesome to hear. And yeah, I think we got lots to think about for how we build recreation for the future in our township.
Anyone else at this time? My comment then, Mary Catherine, would be like with all the influx of the new residents that we have coming into town, that was one thing that I heard a lot when I was on the street is having people come to town is how do you keep them entertained in town? Not everybody really wants to belong to a social club or one thing after another, or it may take time to make more friends in town than say normal, other than having their own little clique group. But having something recreational that all age groups can take part in is a good thing going forward for a plan for our township. So I want to thank you and your firm very much for helping us out here, and also staff for all their many hours of work that went into this too. Can't do it without you for sure. So thank you very much. Candace, did you want to add anything further to this segment before we make a motion?
A couple of things, I guess. Yes, it has been many months in the making, and it was a pleasure working with Mary Catherine and her team to finally get this document to a point where we can have a foundational document that'll kind of spearhead us in the right direction for the next 5 to 10 years. That being said, the program facilitator position will come back to council for discussion at a later date. The parks and trails comment, we strategically did not include parks and trails in the master rec plan, as we are, from a parks perspective, we are healthy and wealthy in regards to parks, and in regards to, if you look at a per capita, parks per capita for Asphodel-Norwood, we are very wealthy. When you look at it in comparison to other municipalities, and they're in good shape. And our parks plan that dictates the capital that is spent every 5 years to ensure that the parks receive capital upgrades each year has been successful, and I do foresee that process moving forward. I don't foresee the master rec plan deviating from the 5-year capital forecast plans at all. It is a great guiding tool. As far as the trails and parks being part of the program facilitator position, yes, absolutely. It will encompass all parts of recreation and potentially some community engagement. So I am currently drafting the job description as to what that's going to look like. The position will grow and further details will come forward to council. That's it.
Thanks, Candace, for that. Just
You're
another ask of you basically is if we do entertain doing something like this, I mean, we obviously look to the government for grants for the recreation. So there is grants available that possibly will be coming through in the near future, right?
Yes, well, I can tell you that I've been blowing up MPP Pacini's email and phone, because we every week I make sure that he receives something from me, and he finally done what I asked. And last week did reach out to Minister Scott because we do have an application into the ICIP Culture and Recreation stream for the expansion to the community center, and those nominations have not been completed and submitted to the federal government yet. And I obviously have been, the reason I've been blowing up MPP Pacini's email is because I wanted him to advocate for our application to try to ensure that it gets nominated onto the federal government. As we are, it is an uphill battle since we did receive almost $2 million through the ICIP program for the Centerline Road project. So based on the fact that we have been successful under the stream once, it is a bit more challenging to receive that second nomination, but it won't be from the lack of trying. So but once the ICIP CCR program is nominated, if we are not successful, then we'll have to move on. And the splash pad, it was funded through the Trillium Foundation and community users. So whether we take this on as a community project, look at the Trillium Foundation and some other smaller programs, that'll probably be more of the avenue that we take, as well as identifying it each year in budget, allocating a certain amount for recreational growth. So we may have to, allocate into reserves for a few years to get it into fruition by 2025, something like that. But those priorities, that capital list, that long-term plan, I'll have to come back to council now once the plan is approved.
Yeah, thanks for that, Candace. I knew there was a lot of work behind the scenes that council might not have been aware of on that, but good job, well done. Okay, so going forward then, so regarding our master recreation plan, then we're looking for a motion then to basically receive and adopt this plan. I'm looking for a motion then, Councillor War. And a seconder, that would be Councillor Walsh. So then all in favor? Unanimous show of hands, that'd be carried. Thank you. And thank you again, Mary Catherine, for all your hard work, you and your team.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to prepare the plan.
Excellent. Thank you. Have a great afternoon.
Okay, you
Thank
too.
you, Mary
Bye.
Catherine. Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Candace. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so on to R3 then. Normally our fire chief would handle this, but Candace is going to take this today, and it's regarding our surplus equipment that the fire department has at this time.
Yes, as stated, the fire chief has been disposed to deal with another issue, so I'm happy to present his report. As per the township's procurement policy, any surplus equipment needs to come forward to council for them to deem it surplus prior to the township disposing of it. You see the list of equipment that's antiquated, that is just no longer needed or is aged, especially you see all of the mobile radios. We have been, over the last 3 or 4 years in our budgets, we have been slowly through attrition switching all of those radios from analog over to digital to ensure, because dispatch has been going over to digital as well, so we need to just make sure that technology matches to ensure that there's no issues with dispatch. Some of the list, I suspect the units will be disposed of and not sold. I don't have a financial number for council as to exactly what it is that we're going to receive for all of what is listed. Let's just say that it probably won't counterbalance budget by any means. It's not going to be a huge influx of cash flow, that's for sure. But we will follow the procurement policy in releasing the equipment. So I'll leave it with council if they have any questions.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Oh, Deputy Mayor Burt?
Yeah, I just have one question, Candace. So whatever is unsold, it just says donated to worthy applicants. Do you have a list of those applicants? Are they within the province? Or are they across the country? I just wondered about that process.
No, well, we do have a list. Some of them we do. Firefighters Without Borders is the name of the organization. So we have sent bunker gear to Africa, you know, and those types of places. So more areas of the world that any sort of equipment will be of a benefit to them. And Firefighters Without Borders is the organization we go through to that kind of align us with those areas, countries, communities that require this type of infrastructure.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, council? Seeing no questions then, so we're looking for a motion then to receive and deem the following as surplus to be disposed of according to our township policy. Motion, please. Councillor Walsh, Deputy Mayor Burt. All in favor? Motion's carried unanimous. Thank you. Okay, on to R4. The next would be our Manager of Public Works and Environmental Services. Welcome, Jeff Bolden. Welcome aboard. And this is regarding our 2020 surface treatment tender results.
Hello, everyone. You can hear me okay? Is everything okay? My internet's been all over the place.
Yes.
Hopefully we can get through these. Yeah, so February 3rd, we opened the tenders for our 2020 surface treatment tender program. And yeah, we've been sitting on it for a while. The world kind of fell apart shortly thereafter. We weren't sure what was going on. So anyways, here we are. Looks like we're getting some movement. Construction's moving ahead. So yeah, a little different this year. We actually took control back of the tender. Typically other years we've gone in with the county tender. Just thought it was a little nicer to have a little more control. So we issued our own. So you can see one bid was Miller Paving. That was successful. And it's as per our plan. So the 5th, the 2nd, and 12th lines will be getting a maintenance layer this year. Kind of added another part to the tender this year, something we've never done before. Just kind of an extension. So if we're the township's happy with the performance of the contractor and the performance of their product that they're putting out there, just an option to you know, make staff's time a little more efficient annually. If we've got a contractor locked down, they're happy because they know they're getting work from us continually, and it just saves another tender and the process. We will still bring it forward with the price changes based on as per the report and the construction index. It has to be submitted 30 days prior to the renewal date, so we know if there's probably going to be a little increase every year. What you don't see in these tenders, it's based on a kilogram price. So I think this year we paid $1.60 a kilogram. Length times width times height gives you the kind of the square, the surface that they're putting it on. So this is just the end number. So typically that price goes up a few cents a kilogram every year. So yeah, so that's something new. Just I said to save some efficiencies in the spring. And last year with Miller Surface Treatment, they did an excellent job for us. So yeah, we had 2 different crews, and both crews did a phenomenal job. So yeah, with the performance, that's the kind of stuff we're looking for. We want to keep them around if we can. Yeah, keep everybody working. So anyways, if there's any questions.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate that. Council, any questions at this time? Councillor Walsh?
Yes, through you, Mayor. Jeff, just what will be the timing of when those layers will go down? You know, probably in a 2 weeks' time if it's awarded today. So, yeah. Okay.
Anyone else? Questions?
I just want to add one thing, Mayor, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I know there's been some concern and there's been lots of chatter in the last years in regards to group purchasing with the county and trying to get us more together than apart to try to get group purchasing and obviously buying power. There's savings in numbers traditionally. So obviously this process has pulled us out of the group purchasing and releasing the tender on our own instead of with being part of the county tender. I can tell you, I just want to assure council that it is in the best interest of the municipality to be in control of this process in regards to the level and service of product that we're receiving, and we have not seen or incurred an increase in expense where it's hitting the budget line much harder by going out on our own rather than deviating from the group purchasing with the remainder of the lower tier townships in the county. So that is for the mayor and deputy mayor for county council.
That's, I can just
Jeff, yeah.
That's a good point through you, Mayor. Just to add to that on Candace's point, typically this is a prime example with surface treatment. Another one is like winter sand, calcium chloride. Typically with those products, whether you go with the county or you're on your own, you get the same price basically anyways for the quantity that we buy. So just to further to Candace's point.
Thanks. You couldn't have said it any better. I was going to mention something about that with the buying power, but no, that's great explanation. Thanks for council there. Any other questions then from council at this time? Okay, seeing none. So then, so this motion would be to receive and then direct staff to enter into an agreement with Miller Paving and to enter into the Part D for an additional 2 years if their work is acceptable to the township staff. Councillor Archer? And Councillor Walsh. All in favor? Unanimous show of hands, that's been carried. Thank you. Okay, so then we'd be talking R5 then. Jeff, again, please. So this one here is regarding Tier 4 loader mounted snow blower tender results. Please, sir.
Yeah, thanks. As was included in the 2020 capital equipment budget was the purchase of the Tier 4 loader mounted snow blower. So did the best we could to get some pictures. I couldn't find the one we wanted, but this is their brochure. If you have a look, primarily what the blower is used for, and like I said, we couldn't find a picture of one, is actually loading snow from the street sides onto the back of trucks. Yeah, these things are pretty phenomenal. They load a tandem basically in a minute or under, the more efficient you get with the machine. Kind of a snapshot. I didn't want to get into it in the report. A snapshot with the city of Peterborough when they were looking at purchasing the same unit, they actually physically loaded. I think they loaded 5 tandems with the loader, the typical way. You know, you just scoop it up and load it on the trucks. They dumped those 5 loads out, and then they reloaded it with the blower, which reduced it to 2 loads because it breaks it down so much and makes it so much more dense. So I mean, you're less trips in the trucking. You're loading faster, and it's actually less trips. So. Yeah, pretty phenomenal rig. Had a chance to see the city of Peterborough's last year. I went in the middle of the night when they were doing some removal, and the greater man can't keep up. He's getting pretty frustrated because they're getting better with the blower. They're getting more efficient with it. So anyways, yeah, great rig. should see some efficiencies, should be able to do more snow removal in different residential areas. Last year in February, when we had that massive windstorm, some of the drifts that we were experiencing, the trucks couldn't remove them. Also another use just to go out and fling back drifts. Lots of different uses, but yeah, a pretty neat tool for the village, that's for sure. I wasn't sure if there was any more questions about it. I'll do the best I can. I just know what I've kind of researched.
Also, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I just have a question through you, Mayor. Jeff, I just wondered how easy is it to take on and off? So you've got the loader bucket on and then you go to put the blower on. Are they, you know, is it a half a day job? Is it an hour job? I'm just curious as to how easy it is to take on and off if you need to get the loader on for some reason.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. The quick connect, it's just a button in the cab that hydraulic pins let go of the bucket and then go to the blower and then they come back out again. So, and then the actual connection between the cab and the blower itself is Bluetooth. So it's wireless.
Wow.
So yeah, so there'll be a box installed in the loader that the control speaks to the blower. There is a hardwire that you can plug in if something, say, goes wrong with the Bluetooth or you lose that connection. You can slide a wire up to the cab and control it manually if need be. But the city of Peterborough with theirs, they've had great success with the Bluetooth in the cab. So yeah, relatively snap it on and away you go. Do your Bluetooth connection and yeah.
Perfect, thanks.
Councillor Archer, please.
Yeah, through you, Jeff. For horsepower wise on our loader, is it that blower, is it at the capacity of our loader, or could you always, or do we have more room to move?
Through you, Mayor, the blower itself, it's a cat driven. It's got its own cat motor on it. So it's yeah. So I mean, as far as the motor shouldn't, like the loader shouldn't roar at all. The loader's just got to carry it. It's its own self-contained unit. So it's got its own its own drive and its own power.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Ward, please.
Yes, through you, Mayor. Jeff, I was just wondering, is this Quebec-based company one of the only ones that make these snow blowers? Or were you trying to keep it a Canadian product, which is fine with me?
Yeah, through you, Mayor, there's another one that they're a competitor. It's also a Quebec-based company. The two main companies are Quebec-based.
Okay.
Yeah. But,
thank you.
Yay, Canada.
Yeah.
This one's not coming across the border.
Well, you wouldn't have to wipe that one down then, would you? Any other questions then from council? I just have one comment then, Jeff. Looks like you're starting to get the township whipped up into like the year 2000 now, I think.
Yeah.
Really coming forward with stuff. So, so next maybe wood chipper down the road or something. We never know, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, Candace.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. I think you know, for us it is pretty impressive, especially this year. The boom mower in this blower is pretty phenomenal for a township our size, that's for sure. And yeah, we'll turn some heads.
Jeff, just when you said that though, it just sparked a question. Do you think in the like, you know how we trade things off sometimes to different townships, do you think it might be a possibility that we might be able to rent it out down the road to another township if somehow they had a hard time up some side road with the way the wicked weather's going here or something, you know, like shared services, say, of some sort? Just a thought.
Yeah, I guess if you know, if council's wish is there, that's always an option. If you get something that just cripples the county sometime and you need to throw whatever resource you can to help each other out, I guess that option's there. Yeah.
Yep, thanks. Just thought I'd ask on that one. So no more questions from council then on this one? Okay, so then we'd be looking to receive and then enter into an agreement to purchase from RPM Tech Incorporated then, is what the motion would have to read. That'd be Deputy Mayor Burt and Councillor Ward. All in favor? And that would be carried unanimous with the show of hands. Thank you. So then Jeff, then you're on to R6. So this would be regarding Blue Box transition to full producer responsibility, please.
Want to take a moment and watch the mayor and deputy mayor's face turn red here. Yeah, this one was an exciting report when June 9th, I had the opportunity to participate in the Association of Municipalities Ontario, the AMO webinar regarding the Blue Box program and the changes that are coming forward to the full producer responsibility. It was a great webinar to participate in. I didn't have a great handle on what was going on until I sat through it. And I think as in the recommendation, it caught everybody off guard with the municipalities under 5,000 and the potential for the Blue Box curbside pickup to disappear in a few years. So that certainly created a buzz. And I mean, the county was right on it as well. They were blindsided by it too. So, and of course, you know, Asphodel-Norwood and some of our neighbors were on that list. So yeah, what we're looking for with the recommendation is for the you know, our council, Asphodel-Norwood, express concern about the recent proposal by the Ministry of Environment and Conservation of Parks that could jeopardize the Blue Box program. And then you know, we're looking for some wording to, as the recommendation to strongly advocate for the smaller townships, including ourselves, Asphodel-Norwood, to protect our Blue Box program. And yeah, we'd like to forward our resolution to AMO and the MOE CP with our concerns. That's a big deal. We don't want to lose that. Full producer responsibility, I'm still trying to get a handle on it. I guess it's big in British Columbia and a few of the other provinces. I haven't had an opportunity to look at it that deeper, how it goes in the other provinces. Basically what I do know about it, it's going to be easily done for like bottling companies. It looks like probably like a deposit system, maybe, but it's going to be a lot tougher for plastic packaging and things like that, where you can't really return it. So yeah, my understanding is some of the smaller municipalities in other areas, they may be, you know, you're provided with depot service, which we have now. So if, you know, if the Blue Box program does go, you're expected to take it to the depots. So you still participate, you just don't have a curbside. So that's kind of the understanding. But anyways, we certainly have to fight to maintain our curbside pickup. I mean, we'll just go backwards is my feeling. Anyways, if you've got any questions, I can do the best I can.
Candace, you want to add something?
Yeah, I just want to add a couple of things. So the most concerning part for me from an administration standpoint is if we didn't catch this email that had the invite on it to this webinar that I flipped to Jeff. It was just, we get a lot of emails in a day. I got 305 emails yesterday alone. And so to be able to catch that, there was been zero communication prior to that from the upper tier with us as a lower tier in regards to this. So there would have been no knowledge of this potentially impacting us unless we caught this webinar. So we reached out to Peterborough County and asked for an educational session to be provided to all the lower tiers to let us know exactly all of the information, even beyond this population cap that maybe we didn't know. So we did participate in that. The county was very forthcoming and willing to provide that piece of education, and they came forward, and Casper wrote his report to Peterborough County Council, and then has drafted this motion for all the lower tiers. So it's important for the mayor and deputy mayor to know that when these reports are coming forward to county council, that potentially the ask be made about each time it does come forward, if there's been any engagement on that information that's being presented to county council with the lower tiers. I don't have time to read the county council agenda every single time it comes out. But I ask that if there's something in regards to this transition to full producer responsibility in regards to recycling, that that question be asked if there has been some consultation with the lower tier, as they are the authority, the operating authority for recycling for the lower tiers. The population cap of 5,000, I do believe you're going to see curbside as the full producer responsibility comes into play. As that folds into day-to-day life, curbside eventually, if they're successful with it, will go by the wayside, because the goal is to have less recycling, or at least it won't be weekly. It'll slowly start to migrate out. The goal is that we don't, as a small municipality that has an urban center, that has density in certain areas, where other municipalities, I don't know why they're doing it by population, because it would be more expensive to provide a service to other municipalities in Peterborough County that don't have an urban center, that are geographically more spread out. So that to ensure that we are still receiving the service, and we phase out with all the municipalities, all of us phase out together, we're all affected the same as the full producer responsibility is successful and comes into play, and the amount of recycling that's available at the curbside becomes less, because it does make sense that they're not going to want to send the resources to every resident every single week to pick up a small amount of items. So there will be a transition. We just want to ensure that that the smaller municipalities aren't left behind, and we're not part of that transition. So that is really important for us to approve this motion and advocate for ourselves, and for the mayor and deputy mayor to please keep that in mind when the county council reports are coming forward, that potentially the lower tiers may or may not be aware of the information that's being presented that day.
Deputy Mayor Burt.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. Yeah, when this first came up, this is several months ago, and I remember we had the report. It was reported to us that the service that we have now would be maintained, and that was in the original report, and I remember that. And then, yes, this report came out, and I think I was speaking with you, Candace, and then we saw it come up on the county, and at that time, because I think you had mentioned about the webinar, and yeah, nobody seemed to know that this under the 5,000 was coming. So so yeah, anything that is coming through the county, we will certainly let you know. From that meeting, when we were first aware of it, we still had some time for the AMO convention to put a request in for delegation. So Asphodel-Norwood did make that request to the Ministry of the Environment to make a delegation about the Blue Box program for the under 5,000. I haven't heard if we get that, but we will see. So I just wanted to make council aware of that as well. So that's it for me.
Thank you. Councilor Ward.
Through you, Mayor. For Candace and or Jeff, I see that there's 3 lower tiers that are affected that you've listed here: Asphodel-Norwood, Havelock, Belmont, Methuen, and North Kawartha. I was just wondering how many municipalities in Ontario would be under that 5,000 threshold, because I think that will make a difference of how much weight this motion is going to make as well.
There was a significant list. I don't have an exact number, but I just alphabetical order. We were at the top. So when I seen the list, so yeah. But yeah, there was quite a list.
Quite a list. Okay.
Yeah. Anything further from council? Okay, seeing no hands. I just want to say that the waste management fell over to the joint services in the county now, so that they only meet, 4 or 5 times out of the year, I believe now, at the most. So that's where that falls into now. So anything that we have, we'd want to almost send it to joint services in the county, or we could ask, I guess, at council to. We do have, sometimes it comes up, I guess, under new business or something, and we bring it forward to joint services to talk about when they have their meeting going forward. The way I understood it way back when, I was at a Good Roads convention, and they were talking up on the stage about this way back when. And so this would be 7 years ago, probably they were talking about it. And I got up to speak and I said, I don't agree with this. I says, because they said the product will probably rise in price and the people will have a hard time paying for it. And at the time I used Pepsi as an example, that Pepsi might go up to $10 a case. And the fellow that was up there representing whoever he was wanting to talk to said, well, then you need to buy Coca-Cola. So, I mean, like, there's no mercy out there for these, the way they want to think about this stuff. I do think making this motion for this resolution going forward, it's got to have some teeth in it, I would hope. And I don't know whether we send it out to all municipalities like we do receive stuff from other places too. So, but any other comment from council? Did I spur anything up on that? Okay, so maybe help me out on this one, but I do think that the motion may have to form a resolution and to receive and express concern and to draft a letter regarding our concern and to forward on to the associations of the municipalities, the Ministry of the Environment and the Conservation in Parks. Does that cover it? Okay, so I'm looking for a motion for that then, please. Councillor War and Councillor Walsh. All in favor? That motion's unanimous, carried. Thank you very much. And thanks staff for looking into that and keeping a watchful eye open. Okay, Jeff, I guess you're off the hot seat now, my friend. Thanks. So we're on to R7 then. So then this would be Ed Whitmore, our Chief Building Official and Planning Coordinator. And this report is regarding a draft Peterborough County sign bylaw we're going to be talking about. Go ahead, Ed.
Yes, thank you. The County of Peterborough Council, they received this draft county sign bylaw back at their regular meeting, May 6, 2020, and they referred this sign bylaw to the member municipalities just for review and commenting. And so that's what we're doing here today. This report just shows that they've completed a new and an improved bylaw, and it's almost the same as before, but it's just a few small minor changes that makes it just a little bit better. They're changing the 50-kilometer rule to the designated settlement areas according to our official plan. And so we have 2 settlement areas in Asphodel-Norwood. That's just Norwood. And then there's a small County Road 38 part that goes the very west end of Westwood. So there's a little tiny strip there, plus the county roads in Norwood itself is regulated the change here. So all we would do is take care of any signs that are on private property within those settlement areas on those county roads. The County of Peterborough, they will continue to be the authority for all signs on county road allowances, plus signs on private property beyond the settlement areas on county roads only. So also part of these changes would be the election signs. They will prohibit election signs in the future from being placed in the county roads, adjacent to county roads. And also just of a note, signs greater than 7.5 meters or 24.6 feet in height, they require an Ontario Building Code process to get a permit. And they also, signs greater than 1.8 meters, 5.9 feet in height, they'll require all signs to be designed by an engineer and have a general review completed to make sure that it was installed according to an engineered the engineered design. And so this is a good thing for the township. It'll help guide sign development throughout the township. We will have to create a sign bylaw in the future, and it'll be a little more work for township staff, but yet it's going to be a good thing for the township of Asphodel-Norwood as a whole. If there's any questions.
Council? Deputy Mayor Burt?
I just have a comment for council's information. When this was being discussed at county, there were a number of more northern townships that really did not like the election sign prohibition. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. But some of them were pretty upset about it. So Roger and I were fine, had no issues. But there were a number of comments about the election signs and what will we do? So it was an interesting conversation. So I just wanted to pass that along to council.
They need a copy. We did receive a request from one municipality for our election sign bylaw to see the wording and how it is we do prohibit and where they are allowed to actually install them. And I just explained that you have to just receive permission in your campaigning. So you speak to the property owner, and if you're successful with that conversation, then you're able to put your sign up, and you're not able to just put signs up without having conversation. And so I think some of them are starting to come around, and it will definitely leave the county, if they do, in a cleaner position aesthetically come election season. That's for sure. Are they looking at, I didn't notice in here, Ed, is it provincial, federal, and municipal election signs? Is it state, or does it just blanket election signs as a whole?
I thought it was just blanket election signs, but I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from council on this? Okay, seeing none. My only comment is I just wondered, Candace, if you told the other townships that if somebody really is in favor of who's running, that they actually move that sign out onto the township property a little bit closer to the sidewalk. And then, of course, the sign disappears on us after the fact. That's just what happens sometimes. It's funny. But anyway, no, this has been a hot topic at county, and it's still going to be a hot topic once this comes back again, I know. So stay tuned. They may try to critique it as of yet again, who knows. So we're looking to basically on this for a motion to receive and endorse the draft and to recommend to the county council that they approve this draft as submitted. Looking for a motion then. Deputy Mayor Burt and Councillor Walsh. All in favor? That's been carried. Thank you very much. Ed, that's great. Thank you very much, sir, for all your service today.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay, R8 then would be Candace, please. And this is regarding the BGS Homes file number 15CD-19002, please, I believe.
Yes, so this one staff report is going to address two agreements. The council, the Township of Asphodel-Norwood, entered into a subdivision agreement for both phases on May 10th, 2016, which included 2 blocks of land that were designated for a condominium development. That subdivision has been broken into 2 phases, and I thought it was important so that council understands the Maple Avenue East cul-de-sac subdivision that's in behind the Esso. That is a completely separate subdivision than what's happening at the west end. So it's governed under separate agreements, et cetera, is happening at a different time. So it's not a separate phase of the same development. It's a completely separate development. So this development at the west end is actually broken into 2 phases. And part of the first phase actually was the condos. The second phase was basically the houses that are up Birch Street. So they are still working concurrently on both phases of that subdivision. To date, all building permits for single family dwellings have been issued. The majority of the occupancies have been issued. There is a few that do remain outstanding as they are still in the development phase. The County of Peterborough has issued a notice of draft plan of condominium on July 21st with a 20-day appeal period. The county is the final approval authority for condominium developments within Asphodel-Norwood. So once that 20-day appeal period is up, it states in all the agreements, obviously they need to receive final draft plan approval from the county in order for the agreements to be enacted and permits to be issued, etc. The preliminary development agreement part of the staff report ensures that municipalities receive the securities that has covered all the legal and engineering costs to date and any legal and engineering costs moving forward. The site plan control agreement will govern the development in regards to infrastructure requirements. So you'll see in there servicing, financial obligations, etc. The site plan control agreement basically takes the draft plan conditions that are submitted by all agencies. You'll see some wording in there from Enbridge, some wording in there from Orca, township wording, and all of that gets put into the site plan control agreement. So then the township will be able to issue, once they appease all of the draft plan conditions, then we issue a clearance certificate. So the developer needs to work at satisfying all of those. They need to enter into both of these agreements, and they need to post the appropriate securities in order for the development to move forward. So I will leave it with council for questions, Mayor.
Questions, comments, council? Seeing none at this time then, okay, I'd be looking for a motion then to receive and authorize myself, the mayor, and the clerk to enter into a preliminary development agreement and also a site plan agreement for the file number of 15CD-19002 condominium developments. Councillor Archer, seconder, please, and Councillor Walsh. All in favor? Unanimous show of hands. That's been carried. Thank you very much. Excellent. Okay, R9 then, Candace, please, and this has got to do with your management action list, please.
Yes, you can see the items that were addressed today, and you see what's coming up on August 25th. You see that there is some zoning bylaw amendments listed there, so there will be another public meeting held at 2 o'clock on the 25th of August. You see that you're going to get some second quarter reports. All of those are going to go on the consent. So it looks to be a fairly onerous meeting, but it's not as intimidating as it looks, as a lot is going to be on consent. And then you can see what's coming up in September. So there's a couple things that are going to be added to the list after today's meeting. So you'll see the merger agreement for Mapleview, then you'll see the development or site plan control agreement for Mapleview. You'll see the sign bylaw based on Ed's report. So there'll be some things added that you'll see on the action list at the next meeting. But I will leave it with council if they have any questions.
Questions, concerns, comments, council? Seeing none, then we're looking for a motion to accept this report then from our CAO. Councillor Walsh and Councillor Ward. All in favor? Carried, unanimous. Thank you. So R10, I take it this was the added that we amended. This has to do with the parks and facilities.
Yes, so at our last meeting, we adopted a bylaw, an amendment to our bylaw 2019-49, the Parks and Facilities bylaw to govern the uses at the Trent River access points. One of the main restrictions that bylaw was intended to prohibit was swimming. The word swimming was inadvertently missed in the actual wording of the bylaw itself. So this is to address that slight error to ensure that swimming is an actual restricted use at the Trent River access points at this time. Again, as staff has stated in the past, we will be reviewing these restrictions as we work our way through the pandemic. So I leave it for council's consideration. Also in this addendum, you can see that we had to have the emergency meeting, so it has renumbered all of our bylaws as we had to adopt 2 bylaws at 12:45. So that is why you see the additional addendums on the bottom. The bylaws were just renumbered, but there was no changes to the other bylaws, just the numbering.
Thank you for that, Candace. Council, anything on that? Deputy Mayor Burt?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment, and yeah, because we did at the meeting speak about the swimming, and there were some serious concerns at the time, and I think it's prudent to address that. This is, I think we all believe this is a COVID-19 result, and unfortunately, just a tiny few ruin it for many, and it is unfortunate. We're certainly not the only ones, and we are getting quite lucky on this. I do know there's a conservation authority south of us. They own a lot of properties, and a couple on the shores of Lake Ontario, and just a lot of issues have happened. And I know at one of them, they're putting gates up and hiring security officers for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then closing it right down. And then Monday to Thursday, they can open it up. And because the use Monday to Thursday is fine, it's, influx of people coming in on the weekends. And I believe that's the same, certainly not to the extent, we don't have 100 cars parked there and people trespassing, but certainly on a smaller extent, I believe we're getting the same thing. So we're not unique in this situation. It's happening everywhere, some to a greater extent, some to a lesser extent. And it really is a shame. So yes, I believe as a council, from my perspective, it's something that we really want to keep a handle on and take a look at, because I do think it's a shame that our local residents can't enjoy the area when it's not the local residents that are causing the problems. So I'm just wondering, on that note, should that be going just somewhere, certainly not with a date, but on the action list, just to be looked at, 6 months down the road or whatever? I'm just wondering if we should have that on there.
It'll go on the 2021 list.
Okay.
So that list isn't coming to council yet, but we have a 2021 list that we track as an internal document. So it'll get added to that. And then those items, as we enter into the fourth quarter of the year, they get transferred over to the current action list that comes to council.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Walsh, you had your hand up?
Yeah, and again, through you, Mayor Roger, basically just echoing Lori's comments regarding, I think we all feel a lot of this is COVID related. And it is disappointing that we may have some local people that may not be able to swim there when they have in the past, but I'm open to it based on what's happening in the world right now, as long as it can be relooked again in the spring.
Yes, and it's important to remember it's our job as administrators and members of council that we are risk management officials as one of our main titles in our umbrella. And unfortunately, managing the risk for the residents isn't always a positive, popular job. And unfortunately, there is a ripple effect when you make these decisions across, and some are affected that you wish weren't affected. But essentially, we have to protect the corporation as a whole and manage the risk. And launching of boats and swimming at the same area, regardless of COVID, is going to have to be a serious consideration. And so I can tell you, I will be very open about this when I take a look at it in 2021. I will be taking a look at designating certain river accesses for swimming and others for boat launching. They will not remain all one use while restricting all of the other uses at all of them, how it sits currently when we're out of the pandemic situation.
That's fair. Okay, thanks, Candace.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Council, any other comments or concerns?
Yeah.
Seeing none, all comments were well said, for sure. Echoed with myself too. Thank you. Okay, so looking on this for the swimming part of it, I guess it's a motion to receive and approve then, basically. Councillor Ward and Councillor Walsh. All in favor? That'd be carried unanimous. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda would be correspondence for action, and a couple were pulled out. So basically starting with C4 then, we'll ask Deputy Mayor Laurie, please.
Yeah, is it okay if I clump C4 and C5 together?
Yes.
It's the
please do.
same, kind of the same issue. So yeah, both of those for business and farms supporting all things local. And I think that's important. I just want to put a shout out to our own staff for the response of the Shop Asphodel-Norwood and the contest and the $50 thing. And it seems to be gaining momentum. And I certainly hope that the businesses in town grab a hold of that and carry it forward, because I think that's a great Shop Local campaign. And I just want to mention both C4 and C5, they had both highlighted the importance of businesses and farms having an online presence and an online sales. And while that is important, I think it's also important to let these organizations know that in many places, certainly in our township, the ability to get online and be connected is very limited. And just the chance of, trying to update a web page or create an online sale is just frustrating because of the connectivity. So I just wanted to bring that up. And I think that's important for these organizations to remember. They can say all they want about having that online presence, but if you can't even get on and you're sitting there and the icon on your screen is going round and round, business owners and farmers don't have time to deal with that. So I think it just really highlights the need for infrastructure, for communications. And in a way, it's too bad, but it does give that, urban and rural divide somewhat as well, which we're trying to get there. And EORN and certainly programs are there, and we will get there eventually, but it is frustrating. And businesses, they can't wait 6 months or 12 months to do that, but that's the reality. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Well said. Thank you. Council, any comments on that at all? Seeing none, then we'll ask for a motion to be approved, I guess, as circulated and discussed. Is that
Just receive for information only, and we can do C4 and C5 with the same motion.
okay? That's what we're asking, please. Information only. Deputy Mayor Burt, seconder, please. Councillor Archer, all in favor? That'd be carried, unanimous. Thank you very much. C10 then would be municipalities of Kent regarding long-term care and retirement homes.
So motion for information or motion for support?
Yes. Any discussion first, if you'd like? Seeing none, motion for information.
I'll motion to receive and support.
Okay. Councillor Walsh. Seconder, please. Councillor Archer. Thank you. All in favor? That's carried unanimous. Thank you very much. On to Councillor Liaison reports. Anyone want to bring anything forward at this time? Councillor Ward?
Yes, just one item from Orca. And I just wanted to let everyone know that they've just issued a press release stating that the last 3 months have been the 4th driest since Confederation. So I know a lot of rural people in our township are very worried about the wells and the crops, and I'm sure even in the town, the water restrictions, voluntary water restrictions as well. Second part to that is that Orca now has the camping available at Beavermead and Warsaw Caves, which can be booked online. So those are my 2 things from my committee from Orca. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else this time? Deputy Mayor Burt, please.
I just have a question following up on Councillor Ward's speaking about the drought that we are in, and certainly we had, I think, a whole 3 millimeters of rain at our place. I don't know what it was for everyone else, but I'm just wondering, Candace, what are we still in the voluntary water restrictions within the township, or are we looking at going beyond that at this time? No,
we're not. No. On average, we're seeing less than 200 cubic meters a day increase, and we have seen 0 implication in flows in the wells. So
okay.
We are sustaining, we're holding So we're sitting around, traditionally we're around the 600 cubes a day. And we're seeing high 700, 800 cubic meters a day. As you know, our permit to take water is 1,965 cubes a day. So, you know, and the wells are sustaining, and Kyle and I chat on a daily consistent basis in regards to the levels. It is monitored exceptionally very, very closely.
Okay.
And that decision can change tomorrow if needed. Stay tuned. One thing that you will see on the 2021 action list that we were speaking about earlier is bylaw change that's got some more teeth on it in regards to water restrictions. So we are going to be making some changes there. But as of right now, we're holding our own.
Thank you for that. Any other comments? My only comment is like along the drought theme is that, believe it or not, the water's still running over the falls here in town too, down
It
underneath
is.
the highway. So that's amazing, really, considering this is the driest it's ever been, because I've seen it dry right up where it doesn't go over the falls anymore. So that's, I mean, we're very fortunate. There's still water coming from the north, I guess, somewhere. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's great. Thanks. Okay. CAO clerk's treasurer's list would be next then, please, Candace.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just want to give a slight COVID-19 update to council. The Municipal Control Group did meet last week and drafted some recommendations to give to the library board in regards to the opening of the 2 library branches, because they will be discussing and implementing a reopening plan. I do not have a date yet, but we'll communicate that to council once received from the library board. I do know that they are strongly considering reopening with a stage 2 approach when they do open, which means that patrons will not have access to the entire collection. So it will be, you know, ordering the materials that they need, picking them up. So people walk in, pick up the materials they need. They will not be able to browse. The computer usage will be by appointment only and will be restricted to a 30-minute time frame. There was 17 other recommendations that came to the Municipal Control Group to the library board, but until the library board has had a chance to review them and make some decisions, I think I will just leave it at that until we hear back from them. But they are considering a reopening, and I do suspect that will be at some point in the month of August. Playgrounds are fully open, as you know, in stage 3. That could happen. To date, I have no issues or reports to report to council at all. The splash pad is open from 10:30 to 6 daily. No concerns or issues to report to council at this time. The only issues or concerns that we've had in regards to the slow reopening of the province and how it's affected Asphodel-Norwood is the Asphodel Park. We have been inundated with activities and uses there in the last 3 weeks. We have had to install a porta potty at that park and have had staff visit that park multiple times a day to clean and disinfect it. And we have been able to move forward with that just due to the fact that as it was being used, people were using the surrounding area and the woods as a porta potty, and it wasn't very nice for staff. So we have had to implement and install a porta potty at that location. We did have campers there this past weekend. Did not cause any sort of care or concern. It was an elderly couple that were quiet and did not start a campfire, thank goodness. But township staff did speak to them and did advise them that it wasn't a appropriate use at that facility. So we'll keep you posted on Asphodel Park, as well as the Police Services Board. The OPP has advised us at our last meeting that that was the park that receives the most calls. So the service window was installed last week at the municipal office. So we are good to go, and we will be taking appointments for marriage licensing, commissioner of oath, lottery licensing, and case-by-case basis, hoping for August 3rd, so next Tuesday, the Tuesday after the long weekend. A few other little things that we need to have done, markings on the pavement, as well as I have ordered the signs today that should be ready to go by Friday for the door. So stay tuned, and you'll be receiving an email from me that will lay out the restrictions and things that are in play. I will be asking that the members of council and the members of management team that have a mailbox in that vestibule, that you utilize that area outside of office hours, because obviously we are allowed only one person at a time in the vestibule, and that's where that resident has to remain to conduct its municipal business. So if you need to access your mailbox, please just do it outside of the 8:30 to 4:30, or by chance time it right that you may not run into any residents. We'll run the appointment-based approach for a while, and I will let council know when the municipal control group meets and we discuss when we're going to be opening as in a full capacity. The team approach is going to remain in place until the end of September. A confidential employee survey went out to all staff, and it was unanimous that that is the most comfortable approach to see when the schools get back in. That seems to be the biggest concern, is when the schools come back in at the very beginning of September. If that does change the pandemic in regards to how it looks in the province, and specifically for our area. So if we're successful and we make it through the reopening of the schools, whatever that's going to look like, and the numbers remain fine and remain in stage 3, and the province doesn't go back into a state of emergency, and we're not declaring, and they're not invoking further restrictions, then we'll come back together as a team, and it will be business under the new normal by the end of September. So we're closing the gap, we're getting there. The ice is planned to go in September 14th. So that is traditionally when it a little bit later than normal, but we had to pick a date, and we got to get a date going. Obviously the user groups, we're still waiting in regards to what minor hockey looks like, as well as what the skating club looks like, and what exactly it is that they're going to be signing up for. But we've got that date because we had to book a few services that assist with getting the ice plant up and running. So we've got that date slated. Whether that continues and moves on or not, I'm not sure. The Evinrude Center in Peterborough is going to have its ice in ASAP, which is going to be taking a lot of the rentals in the area. The AMO delegation I already told you about, August 17th at 9 a.m. So I do need someone to attend that with me. So I didn't know if the mayor, you were going to attend, and if you had
if somebody has a strong feeling on that, I'm always willing to do that. But I mean, if the councillors would like to step in too, then that'd be fine too. So up for discussion if you'd like. Okay, seeing no discussion, it'll be me then.
Okay.
No.
So once I have the Zoom details, Mayor, I will send it off to you. And I think MPP Pacini is going to try to attend all of the delegations with his riding like he did last time, as long as there's not any huge conflicts.
Yes.
The burn ban is still ongoing. We are assessing it. It's just not getting the rain. We're just not getting it. We've there has been 2 violations issued on the burn ban. So we're watching it very closely. We are working, township staff is working with internet providers to consider ICON applications. And ICON applications is the program that the province has released to expand connectivity infrastructure, exactly what Deputy Mayor Burt was speaking about in her liaison report. That ICON program does provide only 25% funding of it, but we are working with internet providers to see if some sort of arrangement can be made, and further details will come back to council once available. One other thing I wanted to let council know, the growth plan, there is hard copies for you at the office. Engage Engineering provided 7 hard copies, and they've been earmarked and left in the vestibule for use. So if you would like them, let me know and we'll leave them out there. But if you just want to leave the digital copy as your only copy, also let me know that and we'll remove it from the vestibule. So if you could let me know, that would be great. And Councillor War, while Jeff was giving his reports, I can tell you there's 192 municipalities with less than 5,000. I counted
Thank
them.
you.
You're welcome. Oh, one other thing. I'm going to take a August 10th to 14th. I'm going to be taking, I'm calling it my hybrid vacation week, because all it means is I'm taking a vacation from Zoom. So I will not be conducting or attending any Zoom meetings from August 10th to August 14th, but I will technically not be on vacation as we have public open house, and I have other things that I will actually be working on and accomplishing, but I will not be attending any Zoom meetings and only dealing with those items that are COVID related and that I really have to deal with. Unfortunately, I won't be taking any real vacation until the office is fully back up and running and functional in the fall. But I'm going to try to carve out some time and not sit on 40 Zoom meetings that week. So obviously, if you need me, just pop me off an email. And I think that's it. Unless anybody has any questions for me on anything that I just said.
I do. Couple.
Yes.
So when we talked about opening up the office there or the vestibule and pick and choose your times in there, that's the space that I would normally go in and sign checks. Depending on the amount of checks, sometimes I could be 10 minutes doing that. Just depends. Is there
So what we'll
another?
do is we'll book you an appointment.
Okay, that's what I
Yeah.
wanted to say. And I'm pretty good. I don't mind wearing gloves and wearing a mask and all that stuff. It's just part of my protocol now.
Well,
So-
it will be mandatory masking because we are a commercial establishment essentially. So after August 1, everyone that comes into the office has to be wearing one anyway. But we'll just book you an appointment, and then that way we know there won't be any overlap. The bigger concern is more when we lift the appointment only and go to free flow traffic. And that's more the concern of the 8:30 to 4:30, because we won't ever know when anybody's coming per se. So that's more of the bigger concern, but we want to be able to get some marriage licensing out, because as we're into stage 3, some people want to get married apparently. So we want to get them those licensing and commissioner of oaths and those types of things. So we still need a little counter installed in front of it, but we should have that up by Tuesday. And then before we go out of appointment only based service and go to a full opening, where the cork board is directly adjacent to the entrance to the vestibule, there'll be another door installed there. So we're going to lose that cork board, but it'll be flow through traffic. So you'll come in, do your business, go out the back door. So you're not coming in and back out and people meeting at that door. So we'll be appointment based until that door is installed, and hopefully soon. But with COVID and everything, it's been a bit of a challenge to get these types of items, but we are working on it. And at least with the appointment only, we're able to deliver the services that any residents are wanting. There will not be appointments made for people to come in and pay their bills.
Thanks.
So if you are asked that question.
The other thing, and I was wondering, I don't mean to put you on the spot either, but when we talked about Hydro One, I just wondered if you wanted to mention anything about the Hydro One conference call that we had.
Yeah, I was going to send out an email to council. I haven't got there yet, but yes, I can. Basically, the meeting that the mayor and I had with the representatives of Hydro One was to establish a committee. So they're going to be establishing a committee with representatives of the city of Peterborough, representatives of Selwyn, and representatives of Asphodel-Norwood, and then of course Hydro One. And that committee is going to meet regularly and be able to keep the lines of communication open. So all of those questions that council had, the first committee meeting is scheduled for at some point in August. We don't have the exact date yet, but once it's received, I'll be able to ask those questions at the committee meeting, and the mayor and I both will be attending. So that's basically all we know. August 1 is the date that the sale does go through, but there will not be a transfer where Asphodel-Norwood fully transitions over to Hydro One until some point in 2021. And they don't know what that date is. And as the committee meets and we learn these details, we will flow that information through to council.
Thank you for that, Candace. So that concludes your list then? Okay, great. Thank you. Anything under general business then? Okay, Councillor Walsh.
Yeah, Ken, it's just a quick question, Roger, through you. It came out actually July, so it came out on Monday under AMO. There was a little section that talked about funding for operating municipal relief. And it talked about funds being allocated by the federal and provincial governments to help with operating shortfalls and relief-related COVID-19 issues that municipalities may have. Are you able to?
So there hasn't been much released outside of what you see there, other than we know it's a $2 billion pot. The remaining, because it's a $4 billion, I guess, pot as a whole, the municipal portion is $2 billion of the $4 billion. The other $2 billion is going to transit and public health and some other areas. So of the $2 billion, they haven't released the mechanism as to how that is going to flow to the municipalities yet. I understand there's going to have to be some sort of application process. We may have to prove how much it's cost us. Is it going to be population based? AMO has many mechanisms, whether they use the formula based funding that they do for OCIF, whether they take the gas tax approach. We're not sure yet, so stay tuned.
Okay, well, that's good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, just under general business for myself, I just let council know that for Hydro One, I'm actually doing a meet and greet with them up in Peterborough on the 4th in the morning. I believe they're going to be at one of the PDI stations or someplace there in town, and some of the heads from Hydro One will be there, and I believe the mayor of Selwyn will be there as well as myself, representing our townships that'll be taken over by Hydro One. So just under general business, I'd let you know, and I'll keep you updated. Okay, anything else under general business from council? Seeing none, no notice of motions. We have no closed sessions. So I guess we'll have the bylaws read then, please, Candace.
Being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a preliminary development agreement between 1087086 Ontario Inc. and the Corporation of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood, read a first, second, and third time, and number 2020-33.
Council, Councillor Walsh, Deputy Mayor Burt, all in favor? That'd be carried unanimous. Thank you.
Being a bylaw to authorize execution of a site plan agreement between 1087086 Ontario Inc., the owner, and the Corporation of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood, the municipality, read the first, second, and third time, and number 2020-34.
Motion, Councillor Archer. And seconder, Councillor Ward. All in favor? Carried unanimous. Thank you.
Being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2009-08 as amended, being a bylaw to regulate the use of land and the use and erection of buildings and structures within the Township of Asphodel-Norwood, read a first, second, and third time, and number 2020-35.
Motion, please. Councillor Ward, seconder, Councillor Walsh. All in favor? Carried unanimous. Thank you.
And then we have the bylaw from the amendment. So being a, sorry, just let me see here.
Take your time. It's been a long day.
Being a bylaw to regulate and to promote responsible shared use and enjoyment of parks and related facilities. It's a bylaw to amend bylaw 2019-49, read a first, second, and third time, and numbered 2020-36.
Motion, please. Deputy Mayor Burt, seconder, Councillor Archer. All in favor? Did you have a question, Councillor Walsh?
Yeah, just 2020-36. Maybe just because you've renumbered them, Candace. I'm just looking from the addendum agenda went out 2020-36 was the site plan agreement between 1087-086 Ontario and the Corporation of the Township of Asphodel. So I'll make sure the numbers are right.
Yeah, the numbers were all wrong.
Okay.
The numbers were all wrong.
Okay.
So the bylaw to execute the preliminary development agreement was 2020-35, not 33.
Okay.
The bylaw to authorize execution of a site plan agreement between 1087-086 and the corporation is 2020-36. The bylaw to amend 2009-08, which is the zoning bylaw, is 2020-37. The bylaw to amend the bylaw to regulate and to promote responsible shared use and enjoyment of parks and related facilities is 2020-38.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
That's the one. That's the one. No, thank you, Councillor Walsh. Thank you. I was going off the agenda, not the amended
Yeah.
agenda.
Okay, so we have a motion in play, and that was the very last one with the new number
For
that we have now.
2020-38, yes.
Okay, so we have a first and a seconder now. All we need to do is just carry. So all in favor, please? That's carried, unanimous. Thank you.
So the confirming bylaw, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular meeting of the Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood held on July 28, 2020, be read a first, second, and third time and numbered 2020-39. And that is the right number.
Okay, you need a motion, please? Councillor Walsh and Deputy Mayor Burt. All in favor? That's carried unanimous. Thank you. Now, before we adjourn, I just want to say to staff and all the people that were involved in this, what a great job. There was a lot involved in this agenda, a lot for us to read and take in, but I can tell you, reading it, it was easy reading. It really was, and well put forward, because I don't know if there was a lot of questions, Candace, that came your way. I know I had none because it was so simple to follow, all of it, as far as I was concerned. I don't know, but anyway, I do appreciate what you are doing there, and very much appreciate it. So
Thank you. And we appreciate you recognizing the hard work that's went into it, because all the staff, the management team as a whole in the last 7 or 8 months, these 2 projects on top of everything else has been a fair bit, but it's exciting to get here. And but the work is just beginning. You heard the EA talk. So but thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that very much.
yeah, I know I'm echoing all from council too here on this for sure. I really expected the agenda to last today probably until 5:36. I want to commend also council for doing such a fine job of staying in tune of what needs to go on and what happens here, and that we are just sufficient and that's not the right word, but we are efficient, and very much appreciate it. So thank you to all. So I'm looking for a motion to adjourn this time of council at 3:35. Looking for the motion from Deputy Mayor Burt and Councillor Archer. Tough one coming, all in favor? And that would be unanimous. Thank you very much for such a great day. And thank you, staff.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Be safe.
You too.